wanted to go to A&T. That was my life, is to go to that big institution.
A&T has been good to me, and I'm very proud of A&T State University, and I'm still there.
A student would go and apply for a job. They would say, if you say you're an A&T college student, that you will be received favorably.
Old Crosby Hall. And the Crosby Hall the old Crosby Hall has been torn down. It was located next to Richard B. Harrison Auditorium.
And I've seen one more thing. I worked on the 7 administrations. From President Bluford up to Dr. Renick. And I feel good about it. Now that's history.
North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, North Carolina A&T State University. Behind us we have over 100 years of rich history, Aggie history. My name is Ted Mangum, and I'm a former president of student government at North Carolina A&T State University. With me is a future Aggie, Miss Neek. You want to go to A&T one day? Then today we're embarking on a video project which will look at the history of North Carolina A&T State University through the minds, hearts, souls, and the eyes of Aggies from years gone by. We're doing this project as much for young people like Miss Monique as we are for the Aggies who lived the history. This is not an attempt to be completely accurate on the history of A&T State University, but rather to share the views, opinions of those who created that history. Join us in our attempt to begin this series and understand that we will be in the process of evolving this into a project that can serve A&T well and that we all can be proud. As we share the Aggie experience over the years from the 1920s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and yes, the future generation of Aggies. Bertha Jean Smith, just have to be here in your home to share some of the old Aggie memories. And one of the things that we wanted to do was put together and discuss a collection of your memorabilia and different photos that show somewhat of the history of A&T. Trying to work on a comprehensive collection of different Aggie memorabilia from different Aggies, telling the history of A&T through the eyes of Aggie. And Ms. Smith, you certainly have an impressive collection of old photos, and in no particular order, we want to discuss some of these. I think the photo, and one that caught my attention right away, was this old, and I don't want to say old, but early, during the 40s, I guess, parade of A&T homecoming parade.
And at that time, they used to go down Old Market Street, East Market Street.
So this is the old East Market Street?
That's old East Market Street. They've relocated Market Street since that time.
It certainly looks a lot different, and I think that the floats and obviously the automobiles and all that has changed quite a bit. And on this side we have the 1944 football team, Aggie football team. And it's nice to be able to find some of these photos now after all these years. One of the things that we intend on doing is finding Aggies wherever they are and bringing the Aggie history to you in photo form, in video form from these old photos. Obviously video wasn't available back then. And so when you find somebody like Miss Smith, who is a virtual library of A&T history, we want to be able to talk to these people who can bring these photos to life and talk about what's on the photo.
When we had homecoming games at A&T State University, any big game, but homecoming in particular, what was a fashion fair, the student knew that they had to give up their beds. That was a no-no. The guy was telling me Scott Hall had a huge consolidated rooms, and the mattress was on the floor. And what we did as A&T graduates came in and say who they were, and they needed a place to stay, we would get up, relinquish our bed, and go down there for that period of time. I know the athletes did it, and other people did it, and we would allow those Aggies to come in and stay in our room. And that alone was a good thing, because people knew, and we knew they didn't have the money, because we knew the salary range of black people during that era.
Well, they couldn't stay uptown.
There was no hotel.
Exactly.
There were no hotel. So we made it possible for them to come and have a good time in Aggie land by relinquishing our beds.
I've learned more while working at A&T. And now, right now, students come to me right now for information as to what to do about tuition, what to do about the other side for the major, what they want to do about promissory notes, or whatever. And sometimes they come to me and they're trouble. But the point is, I listen. And once you listen, you learn a few things. And you listen, then you can really tell them what you think they should do.
A&T have come a long ways from what we had to do, but we made it work. You never heard anyone complain about the fact, the football players, that we had to walk a mile to practice. Yeah. No one complained about it. And you also had to walk a mile to even play a game. No one complained about it. It was all done in Aggie spirit. And I think that needs to come back here to A&T State University.
It made me feel real good that I was able to do some things that had not been done. I guess the thing that bothered me a lot was the naming of the facilities. Jenkins was our architect, was a graduate of A&T, but they had hired, the board of trustees had hired white architects. When I made my first or second meeting, I brought it up. Why is it? I want to ask the question. Frazier was chairman. Why is it that we graduate architects and other students, and we can't hire them? And most all of our buildings have got Knockheed Mims, somebody gets white on them. And they scratched their head and said, well, we hadn't thought about that, they knew about it. So that was the beginning of opening the door for one of our graduates, Jenkins. Consequently, Jenkins did about 10 or 11 buildings for us at A&T. Now Gravely is doing some. Gravely is a Howard man, but Jenkins was an A&T man, and he got the work. He was the first one. My feeling was on the board of trustees that if we can't look around and see what we can do for our graduates, then we aren't doing our job right.
But I pride myself in being A&T during the sit-in era. When the sit-in began, I was a sophomore at A&T College. And it happened about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was leaving my 2 o'clock class, coming out of theme and form, being taught by Miss Barbie. And when I got right there at Bluford Library, and at Bluford Library, believe it or not, A&T had everything on the campus. Right there was the unemployment department right there, and I was between Bluford Library and the unemployment area. We had our own unemployment on the A&T campus. The guy said that we had a sit-in. Now, the sit-in, to me, was something that had been discussed, because I was a sociology major at the time, and we used to discuss why is it that we were spending a lot of money at Woolworth and had to eat in a special area. And they had what they thought black people wanted, chicken and a hot dog. If the bookstore didn't have certain books and etc., we would go down to Woolworth and ask those people to purchase them for us. and they could purchase them at a reduced, at a special rate. Slide rules, I remember some guys would be at the Aggie Stump that we had right off of Murphy Hall. And the guy was saying, well, the bookstore is selling a slide rule for this price. And I didn't know the caliber of the slide rules as to what materials made out of. But some guy would say, well, I can go to Woolworth and buy the same slide rule or buy a better quality slide rule for a much lesser price. So Woolworth was thriving off of A&T students, but it wasn't acting like they appreciated A&T students.
This young lady was a member of the class of 45. She's still very active with the National Alumni Association. Her name was Willoughby Jones.
And then it paid off for me. That's an education to TV Davis. And I love A&T, and I'll always be an Aggie.